had been going back and forth with myself all day today, contemplating if I was going to post a trade review from this morning, because I'm a little ashamed of myself for still having psychological pitfalls after doing this for over 5 years. But I felt like, you know what, the future me can benefit from seeing this, and perhaps someone else could get some insight and motivation in knowing that these things can happen at any stage in your career when it comes to trading. So I traded this morning shortly after Jerome Powell spoke at 10 a.m. and I won my trade today, but I didn't win how I wanted to win. I ended up allowing my emotions to get the best of me and I exited the trade early. So I want to get into this breakdown and show you basically what happened this morning shortly after 10 a.m. Right now, I've got both of my markets pulled up, S&P on the left, NASDAQ on the right, and I have my London range here from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. The high and low for both markets, the high being at 3 a.m., the low being at 3:45 a.m. on both of these markets, all right? So before I go any further, I want to give you the framework on what exactly it is I'm looking to trade. So this image right here is my buy setup for my model. All right. So starting over here, all I'm looking for is for a high and low to form between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Standard. So once I have those levels, I draw a line out for each. And then coming into market open at 9:30 Eastern Standard, I'm looking for the market to drop below London session, come back above that level, shift market structure, pull back within a certain time, all right, between 9:30 and 10:45 a.m. I am looking for price to pull back to give me an entry long, and then I would hold that trade for 3R or target the other end of the range. So when it comes to a buy setup around London range, that's all I'm looking for, all right? I'm just looking for London session low to be taken out and a shift in market structure to get me in long, all right? Now, for the past 3 weeks, I have been expecting higher prices on futures based off of the 6-month chart, all right? So the 6-month chart for me had been speaking loudly on where the market wanted to go. So you have this internal range liquidity that was tested this half of the year. And then ever since then, it's just been going higher and higher towards external range liquidity, which you can see clear on the 3-month. So today on NASDAQ, we actually hit external liquidity, whereas S&P is just a hair below that same high, okay, which would be previous all-time high. Back on the 5-minute though. So I have these two markets right next to each other as if I was coming into the day. And what I noticed was my London session range had already been taken out. The low was taken out at 8:30 on S&P. On NASDAQ, it was actually taken out at 7:15. All right. It's showing here 7:20, which is fine. All right. If my London session range has already been taken out prior to market open this early in the morning, what I do is I just draw a new line, right, which is what I did here. And this little red flag indicates the 10 a.m. news. All right, so I'm not doing any trading prior to news. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit the play button here and show you what happened as we led up to Jerome Powell's speech. All right, so shortly after 10, you can see that S&P is now taking the liquidity out from 8:30's low over here on the market on the left. But if you look over at NASDAQ, you can see how we're getting these ascending lows here, failing to create a new low and take out that liquidity from the morning. All right, so this was divergence for me, and I began to watch the S&P more closely since that was the market that reached into this liquidity pool. From there, all I was looking for was a bullish engulfing to the upside, and then I would go down to the 1 minute to look for an entry. So I'm gonna hit just gonna go candle by candle until I see that here. All right, you can see right there, this was a bullish engulfing for me. I will mark that out with a box. And then from here, I just dropped down to the 1 minute and I began looking for my entry. And this morning, the entry that spoke to me, I mean, I do have a breaker here. It's a very messy breaker block, but what stuck out to me was this volume imbalance right here from 10:17 to 10:18 a.m. I'll mark it out here. I put a buy limit right on this level. Stop loss went below the last swing low, which was at 10:13 a.m. And then from there, I was targeting London session high. And so I'll hit play until we get to that entry. Price moves away, comes back, taps right into that volume imbalance once more. then price begins to expand higher. But watch NASDAQ on the right. You can see NASDAQ is actually leading in relation to the S&P. So if I go out to the 5-minute, look at how far S&P is lagging behind NASDAQ going to the exact same high, which is 3 a.m.'s high. Okay. When I saw this, I was under the impression that NASDAQ would hit the level first, but I assumed that the S&P would catch up very quickly. But what you'll see in my recording from this morning is I just started talking to myself a lot, and I felt like the market was going to reverse. And I thought that, okay, it already happened on the downside. The S&P took out liquidity at 10 a.m., but NASDAQ didn't, and we got a reversal. So I got into my own head thinking that the same thing would happen at the highs. So instead of sticking to my narrative that price wanted to make new all-time highs on futures, I got into my own head and closed my trade early. But you'll see that here. So the chart on the right, NASDAQ takes out its London session high. And once this bearish candle started to form, I went ahead and closed my trade. Shortly after that, the S&P did take out the same level and expand a little higher. All right, so my exit was actually closer here compared to where I had it initially. But that was my trade for the day. I just want to do that breakdown for you. Again, I will show you the framework on what it was I was looking to trade. You can see how similar that looks to the trade itself. All right. And with that, I will show you the recording.